Bills Mafia? I promise you I do not enjoy delivering bad news. I genuinely do not. But the National Football League just handed us two of the biggest trades of the modern era on the same calendar day, and both of them make life harder for the Buffalo Bills in ways that demand an honest conversation. No spin. No false optimism. No pretending that DJ Moore is the same player as Aj Brown because Josh loves him and the chemistry is good and Joe Brady coached him up in Carolina. This is a reality check delivered with respect for this fan base, because Bills Mafia deserves honesty more than it deserves comfort. Let's get into both of these trades, what they mean for your Buffalo Bills, and what the path forward actually looks like from here. Let's start with the one happening right inside your own division. The New England Patriots just acquired Aj Brown from the Philadelphia Eagles, a 2028 first-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick go to Philly, and the most anticipated trade of the entire 2026 offseason is officially done. Brown is headed to New England, reuniting with head coach Mike Vrabel, who coached him in Tennessee when Brown first entered the league and who has now pulled off arguably the most significant free agent adjacent acquisition of his head coaching career. Brown is 28 years old. He turns 29 at the end of June. He has put up over 1,000 receiving yards in 6 of his 7 professional seasons. He has 56 career touchdown catches. He won a Super Bowl ring with Philadelphia last year, and he is now lining up in the same division as Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills for the foreseeable future. Now let's be honest about what New England paid for this. A 2028 first-round pick and a fifth. That is the cost when the entire NFL knew Brown wanted out and knew specifically where he wanted to go. The Eagles were never going to extract maximum value from that situation because there was no bidding war. Brown made it clear from week 3 of last season that he wanted a trade, and he made it increasingly clear over the months that followed that he wanted to go to New England to play for Vrabel again. When a player publicly signals his destination, you lose leverage as the trading team. Philadelphia knew this. They got what they could get. A 2028 first and a fifth is a reasonable return in a vacuum, but it is not the haul a player of Brown's caliber would command if the market had been truly open. For New England, the financial structure of this deal is genuinely impressive. The Patriots are on the hook for just $7 million against the cap in 2026, rising to just under $11 million in 2027, $17 million in 2028, and $23 million in 2029 before a massive void year charge hits in 2030. Those are manageable numbers for a true number 1 receiver in his prime for the next 3 to 4 seasons. The Patriots get a player who is still in his physical prime headed into his age 29 season, with offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels, who has a history of producing stellar seasons from ex-receivers, including Randy Moss in 2007 and Devontae Adams in 2022, now scheming around him. Drake May gets a genuine weapon, not a depth piece, not a second option. A bona fide top 5 receiver who changes what a defense has to account for on every single snap. Now compare that to what the Bills did this offseason at receiver. DJ Moore, acquired for a second-round pick at 60th overall, plus a fifth-round pick at 165. A respectable return in terms of draft capital, but a receiver who operates in a different tier than Aj Brown by nearly every measurable standard. Brown has the size advantage at 6'1" and 226 compared to Moore's 5'11" and 185. Brown has the accolades. Brown has the production in big moments. Brown has the contested catchability that makes him genuinely unstoppable in the red zone when the quarterback puts the ball where only he can get it. The only meaningful category where Moore holds an edge over Brown is durability. Moore has been the healthier player across their respective careers, and that matters for a team planning around a Super Bowl window. But beyond that single advantage, this is not a close comparison, and pretending otherwise does Bills Mafia a disservice. The real issue here is not that the Bills have a bad receiver in DJ Moore. They do not. Moore is a legitimate NFL starter who Josh Allen can win with and who Joe Brady has coached before and believes in. The issue is that the team in your division that just made the Super Bowl, the team you have to beat twice a year to control your own destiny in the AFC East, just acquired a significantly better version of the receiver the Bills acquired. That is the bad news. That is the honest framing of what June 1st delivered for this franchise's competitive picture in 2026. Now let's talk about the much larger story, the one that does not just affect the Bills' divisional standing, but reshapes the entire NFC and sends a message to every front office in the league about what it actually looks like when an organization commits to winning right now. The Los Angeles Rams traded for Myles Garrett. Cleveland sent the two-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year to Los Angeles in exchange for two-time Pro Bowl pass rusher Jared Verse, a 2027 first-round pick, a 2028 second-round pick, and a 2029 third-round pick in what is one of the biggest trades in NFL history involving a defensive player. Garrett set the NFL single-season sack record with 23 sacks this past season. He produced 33 tackles for loss, the second highest total in modern league history behind J.J. Watt's 39 in 2012. He is 30 years old and coming off 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards in 3 seasons. There is a reasonable argument to be made that Garrett is the best player to be traded in the modern NFL during the prime of his career. And he is now in a Rams uniform, lined up across from Matthew Stafford on the sideline and whoever their opponents send out at quarterback on game days. Why does this matter for the Buffalo Bills? Because the Bills had shown interest in Myles Garrett previously. This was not a secret. The conversations were real. The problem was that the Browns kept rebuffing every inquiry, insisting publicly as recently as the league meetings in late March that Myles Garrett was a career Brown who was going from Cleveland to Canton and nothing was changing. Then June 1st arrived, the dead cap math got split across 2 seasons, and suddenly the Browns pressed the button and the Rams had the best defensive player in football. The Rams kept knocking on the door. They kept making phone calls. They kept pushing, and the Browns finally decided to let go. And here is where the honest, uncomfortable comparison has to be made. The Rams are what you look like when you go all in during your franchise quarterback's prime. Matthew Stafford is 38 years old. His window is measurable and finite. Los Angeles has known this for 2 years and has made every major roster decision through that lens. They drafted Ty Simpson in the first round of this year's draft to handle the quarterback succession question, which freed up the ability to send first-round picks to Cleveland in this trade, knowing they will not need to use that capital on a quarterback anytime soon. They traded for Von Miller at the deadline during their Super Bowl run in 2021. They traded for Cooper Kupp extensions and Odell Beckham additions, and now Myles Garrett, because the window with Stafford is open and they are not going to let it close without exhausting every possible avenue to win. And they won a Super Bowl doing exactly this. The model works. Now look at the Bills. Josh Allen is 29 years old. He has been one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in football for the last 3 years. His window is not closing yet, but windows in the NFL close faster than fan bases want to believe, and the history of this franchise and the playoff losses over the last 6 years has been a history of the defense failing at the moments that matter most. The Rams kept knocking on the door, and eventually it opened. The Bills showed interest but never pushed hard enough to be in the room when the deal actually got done. And now Myles Garrett is in Los Angeles, while the Bills signed a UDFA wide receiver who bounced between the Chiefs and Seahawks practice squads as their headline roster move on June 1st. That contrast is not a coincidence, it is a pattern. The argument that the Bills simply did not have a Jared Verse equivalent to offer in a trade package is real and fair. You cannot offer what you do not have. Greg Rousseau is a good young player developing in this defense, but he is not a two-time Pro Bowler who would move the needle in a negotiation the way Verse did. And the draft capital the Bills would have needed to put together without that kind of player centerpiece would have been substantial. Multiple first-round picks in rounds 2 and 3 spread across several years. That is real organizational sacrifice in the service of a current Super Bowl window. The Rams made that sacrifice. The Bills historically have not been willing to make it at the same level, and the trophy case at One Bills Drive reflects that choice. Now here is where the honest optimism lives, because Bills Mafia deserves that too. The Patriots are due for regression. They just made the Super Bowl on one of the easiest schedules in the entire NFL, and now they face a first-place schedule with significantly tougher opponents than a year ago. Aj Brown makes them better at one position. It does not fix every question on that roster. Drake May is still developing, the Patriots' defense is still being rebuilt, and the Bills, with Josh Allen at his peak, with a new offensive scheme under Joe Brady, who was handpicked for this specific moment, with a defense that brought in Jim Leonard to finally fix the unit that cost this franchise 6 consecutive deep playoff runs, have every piece in place to take back the AFC East in 2026 and make a run that this fan base has been waiting for. The Bills are not the Rams right now. The organizational aggressiveness has not matched the competitive ambition, and that gap is real and needs to be acknowledged honestly rather than explained away. But the Bills are also not a team without a path. They have the quarterback. They have the coaching staff. They have a defense that on paper has more ceiling than it has had in years under the new coordinator. And they play in the AFC East, not the NFC West, which means Myles Garrett and the Rams are not a team they will face in the regular season unless they both get to the Super Bowl. The path runs through New England twice a year. The path runs through beating the AFC's best teams in the postseason. And none of that becomes impossible because the Rams made a blockbuster trade. But Mafia, the window is real, and the clock is real, and the time for half measures has passed. If Brandon Beane and this front office are serious about delivering a Super Bowl for Josh Allen, the summer of 2026 needs to produce more than a UDFA and a receiver who is good but not elite. The bar was raised on June 1st. The Bills need to clear it. Whether they will, we will find out together when September arrives. Let me know in the comments, do you believe the Bills can win Super Bowl 61? Type B for believe, type D for don't. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that button right now because this channel is your daily Bills coverage all off-season long. Let's go Buffalo.